Yeah.
On some level, that right there was a description of America and how America has always been, but he seems to have a problem with it. He can't really express what the issue is other than that some people are good people and other people are black and brown people. Other than that, I'm not sure what the problem is. But importantly, that is senior advisor to Project 2025, John McEntee, one of the guys who's gonna try to really kickstart the demolition of America as a constitutional democracy and turn it into a fascist state. But I love that he's like, that even if the illegals don't know they're voting, people are filling out their ballot. They don't have a ballot because they're not citizens. There's no ballot for someone else to fill out. They don't even know what their conspiracies are about the election. But I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on his point because it makes a persuasive point that it isn't just about the migrants voting, it's about their kids. People come over to America and whether they vote or not, their kids vote and their grandkids vote, and it needs to stop. Which takes us to the children of Donald Trump, because they vote, supposedly, and they're the kids, the grandkids of migrants. I mean, look at right there. You have Don and Eric and Ivanka. Their mom, Ivana, was a Czech immigrant. And Barron, who he apparently loves enough to go to his graduation, his mom's a migrant. It was Melania. And she's from Slovenia. So does that count? Trump's the son and grandson of immigrants, German on his father's side, Scottish on his mother's. None of his grandparents, and only one of his parents was born in the US or spoke English as their mother tongue. He votes by mail, noteworthy to point that out. But so should they be barred from voting? Dude on Project 2025? Or are they okay for a reason that you don't want to specifically articulate? Why exactly? Again, this is all, you take mediocre people that are desperate to by default be superior. They want to have been born into an elevated position. That's what they want. They don't want to have to earn it by virtue of talent or hard work, knowledge, empathy, whatever. They just want to necessarily be better because of the melanin content of their skin, because of the place that they were born. But even that isn't enough, because if a migrant comes and has a kid, and by virtue of the Constitution, that person is an American, that still shouldn't count for them, but it counts for prior waves of migrants that they no longer have a problem with. Brett, what do you make of this?
I mean, this guy is basically like ChatGPT 2 years ago, but for like vaguely racist frat boys. Explicitly racist frat boys. Like that is what it is, auto-generated. This guy has a whole TikTok where he's like, women are stupid, change my mind. He's the kind of person who appeals to Donald Trump because he does that. He's got a big social media presence. He also knows how to grift very well. And he's good, camera loves him. That's it. This is who they want to be. This is like, I mean, and this is stuff, I am both Hebrewoid and Goyish. And so listen to me when I say that like this image is what Hitler was jamming toward. That. He was that. That is what he wants. And it's so creepy that they're like, I want rippling white dudes to just kind of be the flame all the other white dudes want. And then we can shut out all the other dudes, all the Lorenzo Lamases. We could shut out all the hot
Direct
Latino
quote from Hitler.
The hot, sexy Latino boys. By the way, give me some photos of those. Like it's so creepy and it's so homoerotic and it's so weird, especially in contrast to what their professed intention is. But we all know that they're like harboring some kind of weird, like self-loathing homosexuality. That's what my take is on it. When I see people like this sit around and circle jerk each other on a podcast, it's like very obvious. Like, okay, good point. No Italians would ever be able to vote. No,
which I have a problem with.
Yeah, no Italians, no, your ancestors would not be allowed to vote. Like at what point is it okay? Nope. The actual explicit answer to the rhetorical question of when would it be okay is if there's just a new group of migrants to hate. Like this is the proud to be an American, like inherent contradiction, hypocrisy, and lie that happens over and over again. Go read old Ben Franklin things where he's like the swarthy Central European non-white Germans. He wrote stuff like that, man.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
it's a
just
tale as old as time.
Yeah.
Is what it is. 100%. You covered in your point a lot of territory, and I don't want to follow you onto some of it, but there was definitely some good stuff there. So thank you. And that is the tale as old as time of what Brett is as a person and a commentator. Anyway, thank you, Brett, for being here for the damage report.
Oh my God.
You did a great job. I think we're gonna keep you around on Fridays.
Thank you.
I think you make Fridays what they are.
I'm
but thank
proud
you.
to be here.
Great to have you here. Everyone, I'm going to be leading the first hour of the Young Turks with Cenk Uygur, David Schuster there too. Lots of fun content to cover there. Thank you to everybody who was gifting, whether on YouTube like Tara Wilson, Felicity Smoke sneaking in a few final gifts for our live stream there. If you were gifting over on Twitch, and as always, for all of the other things that people do to make the community as awesome and vibrant and inviting as you do, even if you're just there commenting, you're watching. I know maybe you don't even have a keyboard. Maybe you're just comment. Maybe you're just watching, maybe you're just seeing the show. I like that too. But thank you to all of you. You make the community what it is. That's it for me. Until next time, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. I'll see you soon.
Welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richey. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day. None other than our dear brother Jackson White, editor and chief co-founder of Politiscope, TYT Rebel HQ creator and host of Politics and Paper. Always fascinating to have his analysis. Top story of the day. Hell of a thing. A white teen yells the N-word, gets 1-day suspension nothing else. Administration accused of being light on racist bullying at the institution. Here's the video.
You stupid. You stupid.
Put it up full mass. Let me give you the background to this. Videos posted on social media showing a young white child at a Christian institution repeatedly saying the N-word has triggered calls for more severe punishments for students who use racial slurs and hate speech. The Kansas City Defender reported on 2 videos originally posted on Snapchat last October, showing the student in a school bathroom saying, quote, "You stupid N-word," and "Come here, little N-word." Students who saw the videos reported them to their school administrators at the Summit Christian Academy, but administrators reportedly made no effort to punish the student at time of reporting. Chris Hahn, head of school at Summit Christian Academy. See, the leadership stops with him. The Kansas City Defender said several students reached out to their outlet with their concerns and shared their belief that the girl skirted punishment because of her mother's position on the school board. The plot thickens. One student noted on a post shared to the Defender's Instagram page, quote, "Because your mom is on the school board, she knows she can get away with anything, and she has," end quote. Isn't it sad that the students are aware of the political corruption that is protecting the racist bullying happening inside of the school? Isn't that something? They're saying what the adults should be saying. The children are literally saying what adults should say on the record at this point. There's more. They told the Defender that it wasn't until April when the outlet made an official inquiry to the school about the videos that the girl was finally disciplined. It wasn't until then. The head of Summit Christian Academy sent a letter to the school students, faculty, and parents after the Defender's report started circulating, assuring the community that the student faced punishment before the Defender reached out. School officials also sent an initial statement to the local outlet pointing to the student's use of inappropriate language that failed to address the racism and harmful ramifications of hate speech. The school president addressed the remark as an inappropriate racial comment, end quote. In the letter he sent to the SCA community while denying the claim that the student received preferential treatment because her mother is a school board member. Quote, "The real question at hand, does SCA have a race problem?" The president wrote in his letter, quote, "I know when asked the question, the answer is, as a school ministry, we are not there yet, and work remains to be done," end quote. Numerous Black students and alumni sent the Defender personal statements recalling a widespread culture of racist bullying and harassment at SCA during their time at the school. One alumnus stated that students have been, quote, "trying to hold SCA accountable for years," and shared that they received death threats from peers while attending the school. Others noted the toxic school culture is an ongoing problem and recalled several racist bullying incidents, including a time when some students wrote the N-word on a wall. An SCA spokeswoman said that the punishment for using racist remarks is a 1-day in school or a 1-day out of school suspension and a parent meeting. The student's mother told the Defender she received in-school suspension. For one parent who enrolled her son in SCA years ago, it's a substandard disciplinary measure. So Porter wrote an opinion piece in the Kansas City Star calling for the school to impose harsher measures for using hate speech, including a 10-day suspension for the first offense, 90 days for the second, and expulsion for the third. Porter also recommended the school should consider banning students from extracurricular activities like sports or after-school events. The school currently enrolls 1,250 students. Less than 240 are minority students. Here we go again. The reason why this became a story is because of the students. The students who decided to do what adults should have done to protect other students. Now remember, they're trying to contextualize this as inappropriate language, when the reality is it is in fact bullying. We know that. We've seen children who have attempted to commit suicide or successfully took their own lives because of this type of bullying. Their failure to address it, to contextualize it as such, is indicative of their either willing insensitivity or their, willing insensitivity. I don't see how you look at it another way. And let's be clear, the students, they knew exactly what was happening. When they called out the fact that this child was the child of a school board member, and that is the reason why there was no penalty, no punishment, well, they called it correctly. Not until the defender got involved, started asking questions, did a penalty come. When is this going to stop? Why is this not clear cut? Well, the real reason is because they share a common culture. You see, they likely are okay with students saying the N-word because, they may say the N-word at their home sometimes. It may slip out every now and then. It's not that big a deal. Student just made a mistake. That's all. Listen, this is not profanity. This is bullying. This is dangerous. This should have been dealt with immediately and much more severely than it was. All right, Jackson, you see what it is. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's important to point out that if this was just one incidence of this young girl using a racial slur, then it definitely wouldn't be a story. And as you pointed out, the students know that this was an issue with nepotism. And one of the biggest problems with nepotism is that over time, it really just leads to mediocrity and standard to the point where what are your standards other than protecting your own? And also, too, you really saw that disparity in those numbers where it said 1,250 students at that school total and less than 240 minorities. So that's probably not all of them being Black students. But Summit, Kansas, or Lee Summit, is a very, very white area of the country, very rural. And so as you were pointing out, in terms of culture, it's easier for things to fester there where you may be in a more conservative or more MAGA central area. And, when you don't really have to face up to a lot of minorities, or when minorities are that minute in your community, then it's pretty easy to assume that they probably say it themselves and see it as not really a big deal. So,
yep. We shall see what comes from this. Obviously, the alumni, they're calling for harsher penalties and said when they were at the institution, same thing happened. They attempted to hold them accountable then, unsuccessfully. All right, hell of a thing. What if I told you an attorney paid an undercover FBI agent to go and off his wife? Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Put up the picture full mass. Massachusetts. Attorney Alan Gesson was convicted of murder for hire after evidence revealed he tried to hire an undercover FBI agent he believed was a contract killer. He wanted this person to murder his former partner and the mother of his two kids. So Priscilla Chica Guerra, he and this individual were embroiled in a long-standing dispute that would lead to contentious child custody proceedings. So Gesson's murder plot began to take shape in the summer of 2022 when he started meeting with an undercover agent and sharing details of his crumbling co-parenting relationship. He thought the agent was a hitman with extensive government connections, which he desired to use to dispense with Chica Guerra and get full custody of the kids. So Gesson originally plotted to have his former partner, illegally deported from the US and wanted to pay the agent $100,000 to set up the deportation. Then he realized, well, murder was cheaper, a cheaper way to get rid of her, and was a more permanent solution. He admitted to the agent that he made one previous attempt to hire someone to kill his former partner. Prosecutors said he paid for a hit team from a foreign country to travel to Massachusetts, conduct a reconnaissance mission, and surveil her. When the team told him it would cost another $210,000 to commit the crime, he decided to call it off. He then paid the undercover agent a $25,000 deposit in the form of gold coin worth $2,000 and a $23,000 payment wired to a bank account in San Francisco. He planned to pay another $25,000 once the murder had been executed. He set up a written agreement with the agent detailing phony consulting services to mask the true nature of the funds. Then sent the agent details about his former partner's whereabouts, schedule, and lifestyle habits. So this would-be killer said in a January 2023 video series on YouTube telling the story of her marriage, the woman telling the story of her marriage, quote, I can't even begin to explain how I felt in that moment. All I remember was this feeling of, I don't know how to explain it. It's like I stopped feeling anything. I was so confused. I could not digest it. I could not understand it. It was refusing to sink in. In a 5-part video blog, she said that her and Gesson lived in Zimbabwe, where she modeled for a time, and then in Russia. When they were together, she indicated that the relationship was abusive and recalled one time when he hit her so hard that she passed out. There were also extended periods when he would keep her son away from her. After a 1-week trial in May 2023, a federal jury found him guilty. Once he has completed his prison term, he'll serve 3 years of supervised release. It's a damn shame. You know, this goes back to the adage, you don't really know someone, but it seemed as if this individual, well, he was known. He was a violent person. She got away from him, and rightfully so. But look at the lengths he went through in order to get this done. He calls in a foreign team. They come in, they literally put her under surveillance, and then, well, they want too much money. They go back. Somehow he gets caught up talking to an undercover FBI agent. Thankfully, the person is not a real hitman. They discuss deporting her illegally, and then he finds it cheaper to just pay 50 grand, which 2,000 of that was in gold coin. She's alive. She's alive because, well, he did not find another true hitman to do the job. When I see stories like this, Jackson, you know, I look at some of the tail signs of the individual prior. So this person seems to be a decent individual outside, right? He's an attorney. He's this citizen that's dutiful. He's a world traveler, but on the inside, corrupt and evil as hell, and taking this woman through God knows what in their personal lives. Thankfully, this individual will be held accountable. However, he will be out after a certain amount of time and then have supervised release. I think people who try to hire someone to kill should have the same extent and penalty as murder. What say you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because clearly this guy is out of his mind because of the lengths that he took. But also, you know, you might think that given that he's an attorney, he would be intelligent enough to realize that you probably won't get away with this. I mean, generally speaking, out of all the crimes that you can do in modern day, especially modern day America, murder is just not one of those things that you really can get away with anymore. Everything's on camera. They got informants all over the place. They can look at where you spent your credit cards, and then all the motive and everything that's been around as long as detectives have been around. I mean, but how profoundly self-centered do you have to be to see an issue between your wife, the mother of your children, and then how would that impact the children if she's just gone all of a sudden, especially if it's something tragic? But this guy went about it in just the complete wrong way in terms of leaving a paper trail everywhere. This dude made digital down payments, written agreements. He's sitting here talking to the, fake hitman like he's a therapist, telling him all his business about why he's doing it. I mean, clearly this dude is mentally and emotionally unstable to another degree. So
Yeah.
after 10 years of being in prison, we know that the prison system isn't particularly good at rehabilitation. I think he's somebody who should always be watched.
Yeah, he needs to be on the list forever. All right. What if I told you that a racist cop who bought drugs, okay, he gets hired in another jurisdiction. Put him up full mass. An ABC Detroit investigation uncovered how Greg Marone, a former Oakland County Sheriff's deputy, was hired by the Holly Police Department despite being fired from the sheriff's office for going on a racist rant and buying drugs. Okay? The officer, Marone, was terminated in December 2020 after using a marked deputy vehicle to buy Schedule II narcotics without a prescription while in uniform and on duty. The racist rant transpired while en route to buy said narcotics. I should laugh. Okay.
I mean,
I'm trying to listen. Why are you upset, sir? You're going to buy the narcotics. You're the police. You're protected. Why would you be racist now? All right, anyway, put him up full mass again. So he's driving. Let's put up the dash cam. So he's driving, right? This guy doesn't have a care in the world. He's a cop going to buy narcotica in uniform in a police car. And he just decides, I want to be racist while I'm going there. So the officer's dash cam recorded him sending a voice to text message to a man the sheriff's office later learned was actually his drug dealer. The story just gets more interesting by the moment. So Officer Marone never turned his dash cam off, nor seemed to realize it was on, as it had activated automatically once he started driving the vehicle over 90 miles per hour because he needed to get his crack cocaine. Sir, why did you have to rush? Why do you got to be racist? Why did you have to rush to get the drugs? All right. Why you got to talk about your drug dealer like that? He's trying to help you out. He's selling drugs to you. Let me stop. While he was driving, he spotted a black woman walking her dog. So the cop said out loud, according to ABC 7 Detroit, blank you blank, little evil blank. Imagine this blank monkey or whatever you are, Hispanic or blank N-word. They live in nice house and think that they're somebody. End quote.
Whatever you are.
This guy is begging to be caught, man. I mean, his subconscious mind is whooping his ass. All right, so it didn't take long for the Oakland County Sheriff's Office in Michigan to find the video of Officer Marone and launch an internal investigation. So the officer admitted that he met his drug dealer to buy drugs and that he was actually on duty. And yes, in fact, he was in uniform. But that wasn't the first time. He said he had done it before and admitted that he had basically bought drugs from this guy 10 times. The sheriff's office then said, listen, we got to let you go, man. We got to fire you. Now, I know we talk about the officer, but think about the courage of this drug dealer. Okay? How many drug dealers would serve illegal narcotica to a uniform officer? 2 years later, the Holly Police Department said, come on down. You got to laugh, not to cry. So they hired the guy. Okay, they hired him, but police officials said that they did not have comprehensive knowledge. They didn't say they didn't have any knowledge. They said we didn't have comprehensive knowledge that he bought the drugs 10 times. We thought it was once.
Right. We thought it was 3 times. We had 80% of the data.
Right. We didn't have all the information available to us, right? All right. So they hired the guy and claimed they didn't have all the data that they needed. The town of Holly is located in Oakland County. Where was he a sheriff deputy? Oakland County. He's probably buying drugs from the same drug dealer. Okay. So they said they didn't know. So the deputy, the cop, didn't have to go far to find a new position. Holly Police Chief Jerry Narsh informed ABC7 Detroit that the background check on Officer Marone did not reveal any alarming detail. That's because they didn't arrest him for it. The internal investigations from the sheriff's office were kept in their files and were thus inaccessible, leading to a lack of information about his dismissal. Additionally, Holly Police did not directly reach out to the sheriff's office for a follow-up. During Marone's interview, he told the Holly Police Department that he was let go. He was let go because he had a poor driving history. Okay, and Officer Marone hiring was even overlooked by the Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards, the state agency that has to run its own background checks on officers with negative job histories before other law enforcement agencies hire him. It's an added measure to strengthen the background process, but the organization officials told ABC7 Detroit that staffing shortages were to blame for the oversight when the drug purchasing Officer Marone was hired in Holly. The officer was hired March 2022, but was let go in 2023 due to an on-duty performance issue. In July of that year, Officer Marone arrived for work unwell and had extreme difficulties using his police radio. He also couldn't drive faster than 10 miles per hour. He was high, damn it. That's why. Listen, all of these detectives, do you not know what's happening here? Okay? He was geeked up. He was high. He was on narcotic because you let him, all right? You allowed him. Friends don't let friends buy crack cocaine while being in uniform driving a police car. He went to the hospital where he tested positive for a drug that helps treat opioid addiction and another drug that the Holly Police Department chose not to disclose. So yeah. He was on the drug that would stop him from using drugs, but then he was on something else that we're not gonna talk about. He reportedly had prescriptions for both drugs, said that he was under treatment for medical sleep conditions, and that was the official story. He resigned. They allowed him to resign. Police Chief Narsh said the department is currently reviewing its background investigation procedures and policy now. Officer Marone is not working as a law enforcement agent at this time. But let's wait until next year. Let's see what happens. All right, this is the comeback cop here. Jackson, sir, when I read this story, I said, wait a minute. Okay, so he's buying drugs while at work. This is no undercover sting. He's not part of an operation. He admits to it. He doesn't get arrested. He gets rehired by the jurisdiction that's inside of the county where he was a sheriff deputy. He then comes to work. Obviously, he's high, okay? He's unable to do his job. He's putting a lot of people at risk. How do you enforce a drug bust when the guy who's making the bust is probably the guy who just bought narcotic from you? I don't understand how this works.
Or shaving some stuff off the top.
Of course he's gonna shave it off the top.
Yeah, you know he is. I mean, this whole thing was sounding like a guy who just, he's strung up on the speed, so he's speeding to get some more of it. And I mean, when I see stuff like this and it's like he got rehired by that jurisdiction, it really just screams that, taking the shortcut, taking the path of least resistance, not wanting to really hire or train police officers, not really wanting to enforce the law in a meaningful way, just keeping the brotherhood and that union flowing. But yeah, I mean, you can't help but laugh at stuff like this. And obviously having drug problems is a real issue. Once you get hooked on things, it can be really hard to get off. But this is a police officer. This isn't supposed to happen in areas like this. And he certainly shouldn't have been rehired. And I mean, I don't know how old the guy was. Maybe we said it, but he looks like he's in his 50s. So he's been on the job likely for quite some time. This isn't some 20-year-old who maybe has a little bit of time to know better.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this guy, he went in when he was yelling out the window, everything was screaming speed. He was like, whatever you are, eventually I'm gonna get to the racial slur. That's what you are. Sped off. But
and he's racist.
Yeah, exactly.
On top of all of that, he's not a decent guy.
Yeah.
All right. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Now I'm going to do something very different here and read some one-star reviews of the Young Turks on Apple Podcasts. Donnie Franchise said, pretty much it's like listening to a trash compactor. Someone else said, negative, anti-American propaganda. And others said, out of context, misquotes, typical leftists who are afraid to debate, just smear. These two would be perfect for CNN or MSLSD. Well, Donnie, you might have a point, because I feel like a trash compactor right now after taking in all those garbage reviews. But thanks for listening anyway. We are, in fact, unapologetically progressive. And if you're not ready for bold commentary, then we're not the show for you. On the Young Turks, we speak up about the issues that matter, and we want to make positive change happen. And now here's why we actually do the show. Mariel Morales said, found this podcast from the True Crime Podcast, Fruit Loops, and other great progressive podcasts. I've become an instant fan of the Young Turks. Great conversation, great takes, very well composed, factual podcast, very informative. Love to hear that. Zed55 said, it's a joy to experience such awareness and intelligence from fascinating people. And Anna is gorgeous and brilliant. Apparently I'm just fascinating, but I'll take it. Paul for Progress said, news well delivered. Appreciate it. KOOK said, Democrats and Republicans are fair game for TYT, and if Anna or Cenk provide disinformation about anything, they will admit they made a mistake and correct it. We appreciate you noticing that we are honest. To people who actually listen to the substance of the show, thank you. Your listenership supports what we do. Leave a 5-star rating for the Young Turks on Apple Podcasts. Let's take the ratings back from the trolls. Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. Here at TYT, we understand this. That's why we're not gonna price gouge you or use inflation as an excuse to raise our prices. A TYT membership is not your typical subscription, but basic membership is still just $4.99. So what do you get for that price? For starters, you're getting exclusive programming, unique, exclusive designs from Shop TYT, access to a members-only chat, giveaways, emojis, and so many other amazing perks. But most importantly, you're helping to make an impact. As a TYT member, you not only help us do the shows every day, but you drive real positive change in the process. In 2017, we helped to start Justice Democrats right here on TYT. That's a group that got 12 progressives elected into Congress. That's amazing, you did that. Your support also funds TYT's very own investigative reporting. Just recently, our reporters exposed the Fellowship Foundation and pressured lawmakers into boycotting that bigoted event. Isn't that amazing? We raised over $30,000 for Jackson, Mississippi, and delivered clean water to thousands of people in need. Our petitions, polls, and community of activists help keep the corruption of Washington in check. That's the impact of what just $4.99 a month from our members can do. And we're just getting started. Positive change doesn't occur overnight, but with your contribution, we can make it happen together.
A new TYT app experience is now available. Check out brand new features like voting in polls and signing petitions. You can also follow your favorite TYT shows, join the live chat, engage in message boards, search for and follow topics you care about, and much more. Download the app by searching for TYT in the App Store or via Google Play.
All right. Welcome back. A lot of show left. Let me read some of these amazing comments. 36 Chambers _Dragon, Mountain Dragon. Hey, Dr. Rich and TWT fam, happy Friday. This response from the school reminds me of when racist people say that racism doesn't exist in America anymore. It not only exists, it's ingrained in a lot of these people's DNA. You can't ask a fish if the water's wet. Same damn thing with these racist and ignorant people. Yeah. And yeah, I agree. Tanya Latimer said married to a monster. I agree. And Lady F&T, thank you for that. Rick James said it all. LOL, hey snacks and a purple heart. I knew Lady F&T was coming. Javar Ellis, damn, with so many swear words, you already know he's a longtime drug addict. People, please do not do drugs, especially narcotics. And Donald James X, I can't put that past him because nothing else makes sense. They just hired him because he could hook them up with some drugs. He knew where to get the good stuff. All right. Okay, Grandma Sunshine Dragon, member for 6 months, thank you. Tomorrow's my birthday and the beginning of twin time with my sister. We'll be the same age for 6 weeks of one day. Light up a doobie. There you go. Have fun. And Lady F&T gifted a bunch of indisputable memberships. Thank you so much, Lady F&T. Progressive, Chihuahua, I think that's right. Justice Haas or Hasi. And Queen E. King Dragon, the 8th note, Nancy J. Detweiler. F8L Flaw Dragon. Faye or Fee. Ron Moore and Nate _DJ. Okay? All right. I got a doozy for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
She just is. That's why
She's really
people can say anywhere they want.
She's pretty crazy. I'm not
You were actually harassing me. You were touching me without my consent. Do you realize that?
I'm sorry, sweetheart.
And this is up until I decided to sit here. Your feet were in your space. Please, thank you.
I think you should stop the train for her.
You decided to move your feet and touch me. Get your feet off of me. How dare you? You're 75? You should be ashamed of yourself. You were acting like a child.
Who's the child?
You!
You're the child. You have the whole train to sit on, but you want to sit with me?
These are empty seats. There's plenty of space. You did not decide to do this until I sat here. You were the one causing the issue. You decided that you were all high and mighty. You got to sit in your high pedestal. And when I decided to come sit here, you decided to cause the problem. And you were still touching me.
If you continue to sit there, I will. If you move, you'll be fine. Look at all the seats right there.
No, I'm not going to move because this is ridiculous. You are the one who was harassing me. You were touching me without my consent. You're touching me. Get the off of me. You're getting your shoes off. Stop it.
Fine then.
No. How about that, bitch?
I actually have more video. I could tell this is the young lady's first interaction with a Karen in the wild because she's attempting to use logic. You cannot utilize logic with Karens. It's like fuel to the fire. They love it when you try to use logic because they're illogical creatures. There's more, here it is.
She's fine now. She's calmed down.
No, I'm still not okay. I'm just starting to have an anxiety attack.
I just...
Please.
You just have to separate, that's all. It's all good.
I'm going to put my feet up eventually. She's not going to like it. She doesn't move. But right now, we're fine.
No, because she wants to put her feet on me.
There's even seats up there to put your feet up.
OG Karen full mass. Karen is literally coming out of her damn seat in order to put her foot on the passenger in front of her. You know, OG Karens are like fine wine. The older they are, the more hilarious they become. She's extreme. Naturally, this Karenicity runs deep. And then when another passenger said, hey, listen, you got other places you can put your foot up, ma'am. You can go here. She said, no, she's fine now. She's okay now. She's calmed down, as if she was the problem. Classic Karenicity. Once you get of a certain, age in life, I don't think the Karenicity is going to dissipate. I think it just gets stronger and, well, just worse. Somebody knows who this is. I encourage an intervention to take place immediately because this Karen is out of control, putting her feet on other human beings. Jackson, thoughts here?
Got that Karen senior citizen discount. That's what she's trying to do. Cause she just, look, when you really, really don't want to be bothered, when you really want your space. Cause she said, look, eventually I would have wanted my foot there. Right now I'm cool.
Right now.
I mean, that was about one of the pettiest things I've ever seen in my entire life. And I've seen a lot of petty things, but like you said, the older they get, the more hilarious they become.
Yeah,
so,
that's probably somebody's grandmother. Imagine that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Hell of a thing. So Georgia cops have been fired. Why? Because they decided to brutally beat a man who was already subdued. Put up the picture full mass. Hell of a story here. WSB-TV spoke with Cobb County, Georgia officials about body cam footage from an arrest that took place August 19th, 2023. It showed a Cobb County police officer beating Montavious Smith, an unarmed black male who was on the ground complying with orders. He was complying to be taken into custody in the Six Flags Over Georgia parking lot. But those cops, as you see, decided to beat him over and over again. The body cam footage caught the moment several officers ran toward Smith as he was prone on the ground to surrender. Police were responding to reports of some people pointing guns at each other near the amusement park. One cop can be seen bending down, pulling Smith's arm up before pushing him back down and beginning to punch him repeatedly as more officers forcefully restrained him. Smith is heard yelling, "Please stop," as the cop pummels him. "I'm underage. Please don't kill me." Smith never resisted the force of officers used. When Smith asked, "Why did y'all punch on me?" one officer responds, "Because you didn't listen." As Smith apologizes, the officer yells, "Yeah, listen next time," end quote. An incident report stated that the officers tackled Smith, but an internal affairs commander said that wasn't the case. Major Damon Ballard confirmed that Smith was trying to surrender and the beating was against department policy. An internal affairs investigation was launched after a police supervisor found the body cam footage last year. Nicholas Malagon, the cop who punched Smith, said in a police interview that he was unsure Smith had a firearm. And when he tried to detain him, Smith pushed up from the ground and tried to fight him. Ballard, however, rejected that allegation, stating Smith did not try to fight anyone and did not have a firearm. Noah Mack, the officer who wrote the incident report, was questioned about his use of the word tackle. Mack even admitted the phrasing he used did not accurately depict the police encounter with Smith and that he could have used, a different word. But Malagon and Mack were fired from the police force. Malagon was let go for unreasonable use of force and other policy violations. Mack was also fired for writing false statements in his incident report, including the fact that Smith was tackled. Now, before we celebrate this action, I want to remind you, excessive use of force, unnecessary use of force, well, those are crimes. That's illegal. There's no job that you could hold and you engage in unnecessary use of force and it not be considered a crime. That's a crime. They were not arrested for any crime. The other cop who decided to manipulate the police report, well, that's a violation of oath. none of them were charged with violation of oath, which means what? They get another opportunity to do it again in another jurisdiction. Put it up, full mass. So here's the Cobb County Police Chief Stuart Van Hooser determined whether criminal charges would be filed. GBI agents completed the investigation last year, submitted their findings to the DA's office. A grand jury is slated to review the case this year. We shall see. All right, so Jackson, literally, they just went up to a kid at Six Flags, beat him up ruthlessly, and because somebody found the footage, it was then discovered this was an illegal act. But what happens is if no one finds the footage? Why does somebody have to find the footage? There should be a protocol that is exacting rather than somebody stumbles upon it. What say you?
Well, if nobody found the footage, then this probably wouldn't be a story. It could have just been another day, which just goes to show that it may not have been their first time doing something like this, because you got to be pretty comfortable with the idea that you're not going to get in trouble to assault somebody, period. You know what I mean? Like, that's not really, you can want to do that, but actually doing it, you got, most people have things to lose. It could be your job. It could be spending time in jail. Like, hitting somebody as an adult is really not the thing to do. I mean, you can't even beat people up as a security guard, or you could get thrown in prison for that. The establishment you work for could get in trouble if you actually fist punch somebody or do anything like that and hurt them. So, and as you pointed out, as we often see, police officers, even if they get fired, the bigger issue is they need to go to prison for things like this, because otherwise they'll just get picked up at another jurisdiction, because it's easier to just keep that gate flowing than to hire new people and actually teach them proper protocol.
Right, well said. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
Hey everyone, Matteo Scarapore here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now. But it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you, be well, and happy 2021.
Thank you for being members, by the way, of either TDR or of TYT. We really appreciate it. We could not do this, without you. Would I still be here without you? That is an open question.
Don't allow the powerful to see you feeling hopeless. Even if you do feel hopeless, wallow in your pity and your misery. And I believe me, I do it all the time in the privacy of your own home. But never let them see that they're getting to you. Never let them think that we're gonna give up or that we feel defeated or deflated. You gotta put your game face on and you gotta keep fighting.
The rest of the news media says you should not fight for positive change. If you do, you're not really a reporter or a journalist, because reporters and journalists don't care what happens. I don't agree. That's not written anywhere. That's not a law. It's just a rule that they invented so that reporters didn't actually challenge the people that are in power. Well, we don't agree with that. We think we should challenge the people in power, that actually makes you a better journalist, not a worse one.
Hi, I'm John, and I'm new to TikTok, but about 3 years ago, I started my daily political news show, The Damage Report, because I noticed this trend where every morning I was waking up to this tsunami of news that was just generally dreadful and horrifying and shocking, and I thought that if I could spend my time helping people to navigate this, serving as a bit of a life raft, pointing out which news is important and why, there are worse ways to spend your day. We're not an average news show, and we don't want our TikTok presence to be average either, so feel free to let us know what you'd like us to do on the platform, and maybe give us a follow at The Damage Report.
All right, Amazon Prime members, here's how you could subscribe for free on Twitch. Start by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and then click that little subscribe or resubscribe button below the stream on Twitch. Scroll down and select the subscribe free with Prime button, and then you're finished. Close out immediately and share your little subscription alert with the chat. Send a cute message along with it and bathe in the sweet, twitchy Bezos-funded love. Hashtag Bezos Bucks.
All right, welcome back. A lot of show left. Let me read some of these comments. Dragons don't know I'm not real. Vegas says, I would have taken that shoe right off and thrown it out the window. That would have been great. Worst case scenario, Dragon, I go to water exercise classes. I have seen way too many older women who didn't pass kindergarten. Sad. Yeah, Stoneflower Dragon, she's going to do that to the wrong person, get her ass kicked. Some people don't care that you're a senior citizen. You know, if you assault them, you may get drug out of that seat. Kara 12071, welcome to Disputable. Thank you for joining. And yeah. Pokeboy _808. Oh my God, I would have put her in an ankle lock. I would have done it. Guarantee you. All right. So an enraged white male decided to pull out a rifle on a 4-year-old child and his father. Put up the picture for a man. So according to him, they were obviously a threat. Michigan. Mark Dennis Grabowski is said to have pointed an air rifle at Brian Woods and his 4-year-old son. The victims were simply doing yard work at a neighboring home when Grabowski pulled the gun on them and then barricaded himself in his home, officials said in a statement. When police got to the scene, they created a perimeter. Officers, along with other agencies, were involved in a 4-hour standoff with Grabowski. The incident happened on the Saturday. This was April 27th. In Dearborn Heights, a suburb near Detroit. Prosecutors said the defendant exited the residence and was taken into custody. Aspects of this case remained under review. It's unclear what led him to pull out his rifle on the father and his child, but WDIV-TV reported that he was mad over grass clippings in the driveway. Quote, as I'm showing my son how to use the blower, like we're coming from the backyard into the front, and I just looked to the left, and he got the rifle pointed right at me and my son, Brown Woods told the outlet. Quote, he said last year we left stuff on his driveway and this year we're not going to do it, end quote. He was charged with 2 counts of misdemeanor assault, carrying a weapon with unlawful intent and felony firearm. According to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, he's being held with because of a $50,000 bond. If released, he is required to wear a GPS tether, that's a monitor. According to the Detroit News, if found guilty, he could spend 2 years for the firearm charge and face 5 for the felony weapons charge. It was random, he said. It was scary to have my son see it, Woods added. Last week, the Department of Justice announced the conviction of Frederick Eugene Parolini, the 27-year-old from Florida that was sentenced to 5 years for attacking 2 Black women with a gun in 2 separate incidents in 2022. We covered it right here on Indisputable. He tried to kill one of them. He shot, and well, he was unsuccessful. This is seeming to be a hunt, like a game. And we continue to have these stories about very mundane incidents leading some older white male to just pick up a gun and start shooting. We've seen it happen. A young man knocks on a door, he's at the wrong house, all of a sudden he gets shot multiple times. We've seen it happen with the case that the Department of Justice settled just a few days ago, and then this one, and a lot in between. It is as if there's this open season dynamic on Black people or Black bodies. You see, if the justice systems do not consider this to be, well, an aggressive attack and handle it as such, meaning throw the book at them and give them the maximum penalty allowable. And maybe the maximum isn't even enough. Maybe we need to look at statutory laws and extend what those laws could actually do in light of penalty, because this is starting to happen way too often for it to simply be a coincidence. All right, Jackson, thoughts here?
Well, not only that, but also just kind of the growing political culture and the flames being fanned by the right in this country. The closer we get to November, Donald Trump's going to be stirring things up quite a bit to try to do everything he can to cross the finish line. Maybe we need to have, mental health check-ins for senior citizens who own weapons, because clearly this guy was out of his mind for doing what he did. Look, just from the look of him, obviously you can't always judge a book by its cover, but the guy looked like he just spends all of his time inside and hasn't really done much of anything but be paranoid for years.
Yeah.
I don't really see why you would do something like this unless you're rather paranoid about things, and paranoia can make you see stuff the way it is not. So just another example of how people who are not mentally capable of dealing with the responsibilities of owning firearms own them nonetheless in America.
We'll see what happens. Definitely bring you updates as they come. Biden is set to deliver the commencement speech at Morehouse College. Morehouse students were basically telling the president of Morehouse, hail to the no. We do not want him here. The Biden administration, well, they have now responded. I want to remind you of the students who confronted the president at a recent town hall. Here it is.
Right now, I'm being told that we need to use our platform as Morehouse men. Why are we using it to support someone who hasn't been supporting Palestine and Gaza and things like that? How are we being global cosmopolitan citizens? What precedent does that set for freshmen?
There's a possibility of a genocide happening. And we're seeing our government continually sending more and more weapons, 2,000-pound bombs that are being dropped on whole neighborhoods, schools being destroyed, hospitals being destroyed.
You condemn what's happening, man. Children is dying, innocent people being blown up, and you can see the videos and you can't deny the videos. And we don't condemn that. You say, well, the world might not see it as, oh, we complicit. We see it as complicit. We the students telling you, we see it as that's being complicit. Do y'all see that as complicit?
Yes, sir.
That's complicit. That's complicit in genocide. Do you think it's a genocide or not? Let me just ask a question everybody wants to hear. Do you think it's a genocide, or do you not think it's a genocide what's happening in Gaza? Simply yes or no. That's all I want. Yes or no. Is it a genocide or not? Of your personal professional opinion, as an educator, as a man of this country, what do you think? Are the people of Gaza being genocided, or are they not?
I'm not going to answer that question.
The president said he's not going to answer that question. Now, in all due respect, the president of Morehouse is a remarkable person. I was there a couple of months ago lecturing to the students on campus. It is a remarkable campus. They are encouraged to speak their mind. They are encouraged to be, well, moral and ethical and provide that kind of leadership in all they do. Put up the picture full mass. Let me give you the twists and turns of the now. I had the great fortune of being able to speak to a Morehouse student exclusively. I will play that in just a moment. After some backlash to last week's announcement that President Joe Biden will, in fact, still deliver the commencement speech at Morehouse College, officials from within the president's orbit tell the Griot that the president hears those concerns loud and clear and may even address them in his upcoming speech later this month. Quote, what he has been doing and will continue to do leading up to the speech is listening very closely to all the concerns raised and making sure that he addresses them either in the speech or separate and apart from that, said Stephen Benjamin, senior advisor to President Biden and director of the White House Office of Public Engagement. He added, quote, the war is obviously a significant issue of discussion all around the country, probably most vividly on college campuses right now. So since Morehouse President David A. Thomas announced President Biden as the keynote speaker for the all-male college's 140th commencement on May 19th, a number of students, faculty, and alumni expressed opposition as a result of the Biden administration's policy to support Israel's military operation in Gaza against Hamas, a U.S. designated terrorist group, resulting in the deaths of more than 34,000 Palestinians. That's what the war has created. Israeli government is responsible. Outraged over the war and Biden's role in it were expressed in a campus town hall between Morehouse students and the president. So President Thomas did take those direct hits intentionally, as well as a letter circulated amongst Morehouse alumni. They called the invitation of the president a moral disaster and an embarrassment to the college. I spoke with a student at Morehouse about the matter on my radio show. Here's some of it here.
We have Bobbitt on the line, Morehouse student. Bobby, good day, welcome.
Good morning. Yes, I know that there's been a lot of conversation about President Biden coming to speak at commencement. And with President Thomas being the current president at Morehouse, I first want to thank him because like a few years ago when he was first becoming the president, he brought on Robert F. Smith. I was able to get my student loans paid for, and I was grateful for that. And I'm grateful that my institution has the ability to have access and influence with the highest office in the land. However, I do believe that this is a very pivotal moment for President Thomas because after graduation, President Biden, he's going to leave campus. He'll still be president. President Thomas, however, he will have to return to Morehouse. And we see with Emory how they just put in a vote of no confidence for their president.
That's correct.
And that young people, they have the ability to have that same kind of power. So I think as a leader, you need to listen to the people that you are serving because they're the ones that have you in that position.
And the student had more to say. Here it is.
Great leaders, they are able to be transparent with their successes as well as with their mistakes. And I know that even though, yes, before we knew the whole Israel-Hamas war was happening, we already had the commencement lined up. It's not too late to be able to turn and pivot and say, hey, we made a mistake. And that transparency, I believe that a lot of people will enjoy, especially with the amount of disdain with the decision. I mean, if President Biden is going to be coming there and saying, hey, you know, we're going to be giving the same amount of resources that we did to Israel to HBCUs, or we're going to be giving the same amount of money that we gave to Ukraine to HBCUs, or we're going to be coming here and we're going to make an announcement that how Robert F. Smith came and paid off all the student loans. He's saying, hey, we're going to come here and we're going to be pushing complete reparations. Otherwise, you're going to see a lot of commotion that isn't necessarily the best publicity that Morehouse needs. Granted, we have the ability to be able to pivot and move, and we still have a lot of great young men on campus. But I do think that it is pivotal because his leadership would be called in question. And I think with humility, being able to seek correction without malice attitude, you can listen to the people that you're serving. You can pivot and you can become better from that. I just hope that it's peaceful, it's awesome, and that he makes the best decision.
Once again, full transparency, I am a professor on the AU campus. I'm very proud of the Morehouse students. I stand with them. And I believe that the president has, well, some explaining to do. And it would not be a mistake if he disinvited Biden. It's not even an admission to a mistake, because when it was booked, this policy was not in place. This policy is a game changer. And the students who are standing up, they're standing up because they believe that their willingness to volunteer themselves and not launch some type of protest would be complicit to the policy that's leading to the death of women and children, in particular in Gaza, that are Palestinians. Cedric Richmond, who is the national co-chair of the Biden-Harris campaign, and and a Morehouse alumnus himself, told the Griot that he was proud of the Morehouse student body for being engaged and caring about human life. The president is also concerned about civilian casualties. And can we just stop calling it casualties? I mean, literally, they're just targeting civilians, okay? Let's be very clear about what's happening. He said that the administration cares about civilian casualties, Palestinian people, and their safety at Richmond, who noted that the president has criticized Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's handling of the ground operation in Gaza and committed significant resources to Palestinians in Gaza. All right, so some alumni see the president's visit as a direct conflict with the legacy of Morehouse, most illuminating alumnus, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So Dr. King was famous not only for his leadership in the civil rights movement, but for risking his reputation and relationships to speak up against the Vietnam War near the end of his life, said Edward Mitchell, a Morehouse graduate and National Deputy Director of CARE. That legacy of speaking out against an unjust war is what college kids around the country are living out right now, end quote. Mitchell, who signed the aforementioned letter circulated amongst Morehouse alumni, said that while he understands why the college would normally welcome the president of the United States to deliver a commencement speech, the timing is terrible. When I was at Morehouse, there's no way they would have invited George W. Bush to speak in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina or at the height of the Iraq War, he explained. So why is it acceptable? And I would say this, Morehouse would have never invited Trump under any circumstance at any point of the presidency to come and speak at Morehouse, period. It doesn't matter that he's the president at that time. There's more. Mitchell said the Biden administration is, quote, living in an alternate reality if they think they can speak at Morehouse and not face serious blowback from young Black men who overwhelmingly oppose the ongoing genocide in Gaza. He said until Biden stops enabling an unjust genocidal war, Morehouse is not the place for him to be, adding his presence is really distracting from what should be a celebration focused on students and their parents without the specter of protest or disruptions. Though it's unclear whether students or graduates themselves will protest the president's visit when he comes to the campus, Mitchell told the Griot students should decide on their own way how they want to respond to this and what they feel is appropriate. You know, I have a lot of Morehouse students that I mentor. Very proud of them. I stand with them. There is absolutely no light in between me and a Morehouse student at all. So to the administration, you understand the risk here, right? You understand what you're risking. Number one, you're risking one of the worst photo ops you can imagine. What if Morehouse students decided to just stand up, turn their back on Biden like they feel that Biden has turned his back on them? Remember when Biden got elected, he said the Black people had his back and I got yours. I'm just saying, what if? Because if the students of Morehouse stood up, turned their back on Biden, technically that's within the rules. They're not disrupting the commencement. And really, even if they did disrupt the commencement, what are you going to do? You're going to withhold their transcripts? Can't do that. You go to court quickly. ACLU will be all over that. Not give them their diploma, please. Tell them that the commencement is over. Hell, they don't want to be there anyway with Biden. So what are you going to do? if they do that. See, at a point, administration, you're bringing this upon yourself. And you're putting these students in an impossible situation because this should be about them and not about buy it and using Morehouse College as a pawn. I guarantee you these students won't allow it. All right? All right, Jackson, thoughts?
I think this demonstrates how big and how real of an issue the situation in Gaza truly is for Biden's administration, given the fact that he's really struggling the heaviest with this voting age group and also with the independent group. This is really a lot of what they're going to be looking at. And so not only this, but for Joe Biden, recently over this week, coming out condemning student protesters, saying that they, don't have a right to cause chaos, and people within his administration or people within kind of that liberal sphere, comparing them to January 6ers. You saw that on MSNBC. That's really going to continue to hurt his campaign if he doesn't get something together about that. Then on the other side, you got Donald Trump, who will seemingly be in the lead, but then he'll come out and say stuff like, well, actually, the reversal of Roe v. Wade made everything much more simple. That's what the people wanted. Or come out and say, we're going to deport 15 million people. We're going to get them all out of here, calling for war with Iran and stuff like that. So both the Biden and the Trump campaigns are in a position where they're still racing to the bottom for issues that they don't either they don't need to say or things that they could just address. And Biden continues to not address this issue, and he's suffering for it greatly.
Yeah. So are many others suffering because of the policy. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
Magic. It's showtime. And say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now I know what you're thinking, Jerry, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right? A few years ago when I realized that I was gonna have to wear makeup on the show. I had to go through finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently what I have is red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen. I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. At least I do. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized. That's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw. All hands. Pick up a couple streaks. This is the guy we were putting on makeup. We got dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much, but you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. People get on you for it. They'll say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bitsies.
All right, welcome back. A lot of show left. Let me read a few of these comments. All right. 36 Chambers _Dragon Mountain Dragon. These students at Morehouse are amazing. It is so refreshing to see the new generations with its strength and tremendous moral standings. We all can learn a lot from these young and wonderful individuals all over the country who are taking a stand against wrongdoings around the world. That's right. They are. They are. I'm motivated by the fact that they are our future leaders, okay? So they won't be denied. You can try to deny them today, but I promise you, they will not be denied. All right, Jay Casa, this is the part the media doesn't want you to see. Yep. And, yep, that's right. They, Nate _DJV, they don't support you, you just want your vote. And that's how the students feel. I'm James Thompson. Thank you for gifting 5 indisputable memberships. We greatly appreciate you. Okay, all right. This is an update. Remember the nurse that we talked about that basically, committed mass murder, was a serial killer? Let's put up the picture full mass. This nurse who murdered multiple patients is going to get life in prison, avoids lethal injection, even though she lethally injected many. Per the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Heather Presdy, dubbed the killer nurse for her hand in the deaths of 17 nursing home patients at 5 facilities. Now remember, that number 17 may be more. Pleaded guilty on Thursday to 3 counts of first-degree murder and 19 counts of attempted murder. In return for her plea, the 41-year-old will avoid the possibility of death, okay? Will instead receive 3 consecutive life sentences plus hundreds more for the attempted murder charges. She'll never get out of prison. So Presty wept as she addressed Judge Kubit before her sentencing, expressing remorse for her actions and acknowledging the impact on others' lives, including her parents. The judge described the sentence 3 consecutive life terms followed by hundreds more for years as reflective of the absolute depravity of her actions. That was the goal from the beginning. Her attorneys, James De Pasquale and Phil De Lucenti, said after the 7-hour proceeding, quote, "There was no doubt in our mind she was going to get the death penalty." He said, "If you put this case before a jury, Heather was going to be sentenced to death. She might not receive the death penalty, but she was going to receive a sentence of death. She'd faced more than 3 dozen charges in connection with the deaths, which happened between 2020 and her arrest in May of 2023, including 4 murder charges. Investigators have said they filed murder charges only in connection with the deaths for those which they could concretely prove a cause of death. Preston worked at 6 different nursing homes, facilities across the region in less than 3 years. And she was at her 7th last year when she was initially charged with 2 counts of murder in the deaths of 2 patients at Quality Life Services. 6 months later, after more families brought their suspicions to the Attorney General's office, investigators filed dozens more charges, including 2 more counts of murder. The 2 criminal complaints spanned more than 40 pages and detailed Presdy's confessions to each insulin overdose. One woman looked at her like an animal would, she told investigators. One man, quote, had no quality of life, she said, and she felt bad for another. One needed to die, quote. That was a frequent refrain at Sunnyview Nursing and Rehabilitation in Butler, co-workers told investigators. She's been linked to 6 patients' deaths during her time there. Presti, one fellow nurse told police, was always saying the residents, quote, just needed to die. But why? That was the question for many of the family members who spoke Thursday. They said they knew what the affidavit said, but they asked if that was really the reason. So the defense attorney said his client wanted to fess up to what she had done. From the very beginning of the investigation, as to her motivations, he pointed to the fact she'd worked for years in a veterinary facility where her duties included euthanasia. She didn't want to see anyone suffer, he said. That's a hell of a defense. It's insane, of course. The facilities where the murders and attempted murders took place were Concordia at Rebecca Residences in West Deer, Bel Air Healthcare and Rehabilitation in Lower Beryl, Quality Life Services, Premier Armstrong Rehabilitation and Nursing Center, and Sunnyview Rehabilitation and Nursing Center in Butler. Lawsuits filed by multiple families allege a culture of cover-up. That's what we covered in our initial reporting at the facilities Presti bounced among, claiming the administrators went so far as to discipline nurses who discussed her behavior. Co-workers at Bel Air Health and Rehabilitation in Lower Beryl dubbed her the killer nurse. Her co-workers called her the killer nurse. Now, remember in our initial reporting, we were able to put together some ironic dynamics, such as, well, when people who worked with her say, hey, listen, there's something strange going on with this one because everybody keeps dying around her. But those nurses got disciplined. They got punished. Almost as if the powers that be, that they were well aware that she was doing this to patients, doing this to those they were supposed to serve. It's very sad. Jackson, at least some level of justice, but the reality is a person doesn't get away with basically being a serial killer in this fashion without significant cover-up and allowance and or protection happening at the facility. What say you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, negligence at best. Of them just, not really caring that the numbers aren't really adding up. But I think that the prospect of never ever getting out of prison is a lot worse than the prospect of maybe, being euthanized yourself in 15 or 20 years. Knowing that there's nothing you can do to get out of a place like that is definitely punishment enough. I think this is one of the more egregious examples of psychopathy that you can come across when people do stuff like this. But prison is definitely made for people just like her. So that's where she's going to spend the rest of her days.
Yeah, she's going to die there. All right. Representative Mike Collins. Well, he endorses a video of a racist Ole Miss student. Here it is. You saw it, accompanied with the monkey chants and all. Put it up full mass. Yep. Old Representative Mike Collins, Republican out of Georgia, on Friday drew instant criticism after he approvingly promoted a video showing white students at the University of Mississippi taunting a black demonstrator, with at least one student making monkey noises at her. So he endorsed this, okay? Collins thought this behavior was worthy of congratulations. Ole Miss taking care of business. That's what he wrote in the caption accompanying the video, okay? The video in question was taken on Thursday during a pro-Palestinian demonstration on the Ole Miss campus. A local news station, WTVA, reports the pro-Palestinian demonstrators on campus were vastly outnumbered by counter-demonstrators, such as the ones shown in the video promoted by Collins. According to WTVA, the protesters were eventually escorted out to a bus and taken off campus as counter-demonstrators threw food, and water bottles at them. That's violence, isn't it? Collins retweeted the video from Richard Hanania, president for Center for the Study of Partnership and Ideology, wrote alongside the video, posted on X, "This video is from Ole Miss. It's beautiful, but guys, please put away the phones. Be in the moment when you're mocking the Hamas-loving fat girl," end quote. Nina Turner was one of many to clap back on X, writing, "This is a video showing anti-blackness. This is a sitting congressman applauding it, and we concur." Representative Collins would try to correct the statement by writing back asterisk and anti-terroristness, to which Turner replied, "Representative, that is a white man making monkey gestures at a black woman, and these protesters are not terrorists. Don't play games, check yourself," end quote. He didn't say, oh, I didn't see that part. I mean, they're not even trying to hide it anymore, you know? There was a time they'd get called out on this. "Oh, somebody from my staff must have done that." Not anymore. Stub it down. Jackson, this is the state of our union.
Right, exactly. You would have, not that long ago at all, my staff did it, or one of the interns slipped up and posted it, because he didn't need to post that at all. It didn't help him in any way. And he's more than old enough and more than experienced enough to know that he shouldn't do things like this. But, you know, I guess he's sticking it to the libs is that big of a deal, that's all the Republican platform has become.
Yep. All right. Hell of a thing. A black teen dies after being chased by white friends. I'm using that term loosely. I'm gonna take you to the video of the chase. Here it is. Wow, put it up, full mass. Pennsylvania. You see this kid died. His name is Justin Johnson. 4 days before his 17th birthday, he died after being chased by his white classmates and going into cardiac arrest. Local residents have raised questions over whether racial harassment played a part in the moments leading up to his death that occurred on April 26th. That night, Johnson was visited by 2 white teenagers. He called his father to tell him that he was going outside to play tag with friends. Home surveillance footage shows one white teen ringing the doorbell to Johnson's house and Johnson going outside with them. Then another white teen suddenly appears across the street, and both teens began chasing Johnson. Johnson is seen in the video running down an embankment next to his house and disappearing from view. One white teen yells, "Yo, where the blank did he go? He just went back to effing Africa," end quote. Minutes later, Johnson appears on surveillance footage again, walking back into his home alone almost an hour after Johnson went outside. His father tried to call him, but there was no answer. His father arrived home about half hour after that call, where he found his son unresponsive on the floor. He started CPR, called 911 immediately. Medics arrived shortly after and rushed Johnson to a local hospital. He was pronounced dead there later that night. The results of Johnson's autopsy done by county officials revealed the cause of death was complications of sickle cell disease. The coroner also stated that the 16-year-old had suffered a cardiomyopathy, which makes it difficult for a person's heart to pump. Johnson and his family had recently moved in town from Jamaica. He was only in the 10th grade. He was at a high school called Dolphin High. Community members began circulating rumors and a video on social media that he died after a parent hazing incident, Fox 43 reports. The Central Dolphin School District addressed these rumors in an official statement about Johnson's death. Quote, "We understand that the circumstances around Justin's death have not been determined. However, There are social media reports that indicated that Justin was subjected to racial insensitivity from classmates. The statement reads, hate speech or any behavior that denigrates another person's rights will not be tolerated and is not consistent with the mission, vision, and values of CDSD. We are aware of the social media posts and are cooperating with local law enforcement. End quote. This is his father. So his father has now hired the services of a law firm to conduct an independent investigation. Attorneys for the family believe that the TikTok trend senior assassin played a role in Johnson's death and trying to confirm if one of the other teens involved was carrying a weapon. As I believe that Justin was in fear, attorney Nicholas Johnson said during the May 1st press conference. Despite the results of the autopsy, Dauphin County District Attorney Fran Chardo said the case may not be closed. I can't imagine any worse thing happening than a parent coming home and your son, your child is unresponsive. And then going back to your own footage that you have for protection at your house, and you see that he's being chased by insensitive teenagers saying that he's going to Africa. We encourage a full and exhaustive investigation. Naturally, we will stay on top of this story as it develops. Jackson, thoughts?
My thoughts on this is, unfortunately, racism is not going away in terms of it not being something that's disappeared. It's continuing to be fostered. It's continuing to be taught to people, whether that be directly in the household or the political or cultural and entertainment influences that we have very easy access to. So, like you said, this is about as tragic as it would get. I can't even imagine what it would be like. And unfortunately, this is a problem that we have to continue to fight.
Yeah. Always a pleasure having you on the program. Tell people how they can follow you, check out your great work.
Absolutely. Always good to be here. Check me out at Politics and Paper on YouTube. In addition to daily political streams, I'm putting out new mental health tools and resources and educational content that people can utilize to help improve, take better advantage of healthier coping strategies. So again, that's youtube.com/@politicsandpaper. Check me out.
Thank you, dear brother. We appreciate all you do. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.